come the fuck in. Doors open, numbnuts!
Ralphie?
Teddy?
Just Ted.
It's about two brothers trying to reconcile a very troubling past, and it's a very nice job of just executing a very complicated story, a very emotional type of story with just three actors on screen in one location. They did a very good job of that. The black and white photography looked very beautiful, and it kind of gave a good mood to the entire piece. It had this kind of noir, kind of thriller kind of vibe to it, because there is a bit of a mystery as the younger brother is trying to figure out what has happened in the past, and then the revelation is very shocking, and the older brother does a very good job of kind of just being a very unlovable, unlikable guy, but then it turns out he's made this big sacrifice and he actually does love his little brother a lot. So there's some good revelations, some good surprises there. And it was nicely written, nicely acted, well directed, and just a good job all around on Revelationz.
Boy, did this film live up to its title. I loved the twists. I loved the revelations. I wasn't expecting it. Even though it was called Revelationz, I was still beautifully surprised. The thing that struck me the most at the very beginning of the piece was the music. First off, I was like, oh, this music choice is so cool. Like it's really interesting. And that the more it moved forward, the more I realized how much it fit. I loved the filming style. I love noir, and this felt very noir to me. I don't know if that's what the goal was, but that's what it felt like to me. It was very film noir. Almost like those old crime movies. Loved it. I loved the story. I thought the choices of these actors was outstanding. Really well done with casting. These were fantastic people. The other thing that struck me was the location and the lighting. The lighting was amazing. One of the visuals that will never leave me is that brick wall, like right when he turned the corner, that brick wall. I don't know why, but it was so beautifully shot, and the lighting on it was gorgeous. The phone, that whole moment with the phone, the stillness and the lighting, and the phone was great. So yeah, I mean, there's so many moments in this film that are so fantastic. I highly recommend it. Really well done. Very, very good.
It was a really great piece, and it was just a really fun thing for me to watch. Aside from the story of the two brothers and the eventual revelations of it, something that really stood out to me was the filming of it, and just so many details of how to execute it in a style that was similar to the types back in the 50s, I want to say, with the noir type kind of crime filming style. And I think this paid such great homage to that, with the quick cutaways to the phone ringing and the still shot of that, to the doorway scenes with the lighting there. That was just so cool, and I think it was just executed so cleverly, and I love the haloing effect it kind of had on whoever was standing there, and just the angling of it was just so great, and the detailing behind that was so fun to watch. So overall, like, beyond the story itself, which was very fascinating, every other little technical detail to it was just super great. So really great job.
The thing that struck me most was the camera angles that they chose, because it was very stilted. It was some shots they had zooming in or a little bit more movement, but for the most part their conversation was you saw each of them on the two sides of the screen, and sometimes they would have close-ups of one person or the other, but for the most part it was very stilted, which I thought mimicked their conversation as well, and kind of put you more in that mindset of realizing just how little they really knew about each other or really had in common. I think it was intentional, but they didn't have a ton of chemistry, but they also hadn't seen each other since the younger brother was so young and so little. So I thought that it was very, like, on point. It felt right for them not to have a lot of chemistry, and it felt right for everything to be as stilted as it was.
I thought this was a really interesting character piece for something that's essentially talking heads. I mean, we have our two and additional character literally in the one room sitting there talking the entire time, which it can work, and it sort of works here because our characters are rather compelling. It's just they're the discussion is one that you don't mind sitting in on, and obviously there's one felt very visually interesting to look at too. So it was delightful in that regard, and there's some great camera work going on here too. Feels borrowing from Hitchcock and the likes. It does have that sort of vibe to it, which just suits it perfectly. So yeah, there's a lot of great elements in this one.
I liked the slight sepia tone it has over the monochromatic effect. The script is quite cryptic, but also totally insightful, and to my point of view, it speaks of deep and unconditional love and profound tragedy as well. It has a very clever wordplay and interaction. It is quite engaging, with every character positioned properly within the story, and it was just adorably moving. I really enjoyed it.
Written, directed, produced, and starring Lawrence Whitener, who plays the character of Ralphie, sort of the Charles Manson half of this Charles Manson ego character that fills the frame as an uncooperative man who talks in riddles and becomes an enigma to his brother's burdening questions. The film is really at its best when it spaces both brothers in the same shot. Through the black and white exposure, the audience is granted very stark and distinct contrast between them. And, despite the obvious size and girth and costume, the shadows really help us empathize with both characters in this matter, that we can feel not exactly, but we can sort of, we can appreciate what Ralphie has been through in order to be there judged by his younger brother. He can turn that lamp on and off if he wants to, but the ink and the sorrow that has been etched into his skin is really exposed there in the shadows. And the ironic line is when he himself asked Ted, "What do I have to do to keep you in the dark?" And it's sort of that in itself becomes what the story is about. That he didn't even want him to become Ted. He wanted him to be Teddy or Theo. He wanted this man to remain a child, ignorant in the sense of ignorance is bliss, as he says, to remain unaware of what happened or what could have happened in his childhood. Brilliant, provocative, and full of emotion, and I think a lot of people will appreciate it for the same reasons as I did.